My name is Ezrill bin Jauhari. Today I'm going to present about let's fight racism in Malaysia with proper hygiene. Let's go. Rule 1. The article titled Let's Fight Racism in Malaysia with Proper Hygiene was written by Dr. Nadila Jamil is perhaps an informative text as it explains about the normalization of racism in Malaysia and it being exists in many forms whether we realize it or not. Rule 2. Based on the article, the writer Dr. Siti Nur Nadila Muhammad Jamil is informing the readers about the existence of racism in Malaysia. This article mentions that some Malaysian that is supporting America's BLM movement while being anti-migrant and racist at your home country is simply contradictory. The article was written on 22nd June 2020. The article was written to give awareness to the Malaysian people that racism is bad and should be denormalized by starting the first step, which is speaking verbally hygiene with no racist or stereotypical remarks against any races. Rule 3. According to IIUM Staff Directory, Dr. Siti Nur Nadila Muhammad Jamil is an assistant professor at the Department of English Language and Literature, DEL. She is very passionate about language and politics in general. Like Orwell, she is fascinated by how political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable. She works within a field of research known as Critical Discourse Studies, CDS. Her main research interests revolve around social inequalities and language use, and the ways that these interact with and affect each other, which include campaign rhetoric, argumentation, everydayness, race and racism, discourse on refugees, and social discourse. She, dis- she graduated with a first class honor degree from Dell in 2012. She completed her MA in Discourse Studies at Leicester University in the UK a year after she was trained to be a CDS analyst by one of the pioneers of CDS itself. She left the she left the Department of Linguistics at Lancaster University to be supervised by an interdisciplinary research team at Loughborough University in the UK, with John E. Rickardsson, Dominic Ring, and Michael Skay. I have reason to believe that Dr. Siti Nur Nadila Muhammad Jamil is a credible author. She is an experienced writer because mainly she mainly because she graduated with a first class honor degree from Dell in 2012 and later completed her MA in Discourse Studies at Lancaster University, which is ranked the 128th in the world ranking according to QS World Ranking. A year after she was trained to be a CDS analyst by one of the pioneers of CDS. Besides that, the author also works as an assistant professor at Dell, with her research focus on the social inequalities and language use and the ways that these interact with each other. This makes her aware about the hidden racism occurring in our country. Last but not least, it is safe to say that this article is also detailed, informative, and relatively unbiased. Rule 6. The purpose of the article is to inform to the readers on the neglected issue about racism in Malaysia which occur on all levels of society while not being acknowledged or just outright ignored. Firstly, based on the writer, racism comes in many forms and shapes and it could occur on daily and institutional level. While it is good that Malaysians are supporting the BLM movement in solidarity with the black people, they themselves should just have a look at their own backyard, meaning their own country, that the same issue is also happening without being given any attention. The argument made by Dr. Siti Nur Nadila Muhammad Jamil is based on her experience in researching the field and surfing the internet, like the social media. On the social media, we can really see the two-faced hypocrisy of some Malaysian take on racism. It is shown in these lines. Quote, some Malaysians, Black Lives Matters, pumpang pumpang, unquote. And also another line, also some Malaysians, when they speak to the children, you naughty, later that Indian man will catch you, ha. This clearly shows that some or most Malaysians are not so conscious about their surroundings in society. This racism has been so normalized that it becomes subconsciously a part of every person when starting conversation or work. This is why the author stated that people should denormalize the racism by speaking properly hygiene with no vulgar or racist words. Rule 7. The writer believes that Malaysians who support anti-racism groups such as Black Lives Matter movement abroad is quite admirable, but they should really put their focus here in our own country. This is because our own country has its own problem, which is the hidden rampant racism currently occurring in our mixed society. The topic of racism can be considered a taboo in our society, which means it is a topic that is inconvenient for us to speak or discuss about, just like anything about rape. This neglect caused topic about racism to be swept under the rug or never to be brought up again, which caused normalization of it in Malaysia's big race society. This can be seen in the line when employees speak among themselves. Don't hire Malay, they are lazy. And another line, think also about those times when some women flinch and clutch their handbags when they see an Indian man walking by their table. I strongly agree with the writer's stance because the racialization of different communities in Malaysia has a very long root and history. According to Walter F. Lefebvre, 2012, a professor of government and public policy at Cornell University, uh, quote, in this line, as the pressures of modernization and globalization threaten the established identity landscape in Malaysia, fostering new overlapping identities and suggesting that there might be a room for a post-communal politics. Language emerged among the region's defenders, perhaps not consciously, that racialized communal difference by racializing, I mean recasting communal difference at fundamental, durable, and immutable and biological. It means people would be classed and divided on these lines. Secondly, the recent growth of xenophobia against certain race due to COVID-19 virus is high and revealing. According to Malay Mail 2020, a large proportion of hateful mentioned with this time period, 38% faulted the Chinese as a broad group for bringing in the virus or for eating exotic animals. Read the report. Aside from Malaysia, this is happening everywhere else in the world, where anyone who is of Asian descent are getting violent reactions by the public. Such violent activities include being sprayed with an air freshener, getting spat on, or even physical assault by an angry mobs or assailants. Lastly, a lot of people do not notice that our very own country system is itself dictated by racism, which dictated our own very day way of life, which is called institutional racism. According to Malaysian Philosophy Society 2021, race-based policies are ingrained in Malaysian politics, used to advance the interests of specific racial and ethnic groups. Vernacular education system in Malaysia divided students according to race, and employment and housing system in Malaysia are often observed to use race-based selection criteria. This really showed that racism was normalized even in our own laws, leadership, and work, which is quite bad for a multiracial society because it could divide the unity of our own people. Rule 9. The effect on reader is most likely unsuccessful because most of the readers would be so much accustomed to their current way of life due to racism being normalized too deep in our society to bring any changes of significant impact in a short notice. The article may raise a bit of awareness to the readers about the current situation, but it is ultimately futile. The writers mention a line in the article. For change to happen, we must first recognize the problem. This type of casual racism is called microaggression. It has been casually internalized in many Malaysian linguistic repertoire. Microaggressions are as dangerous as any overt racial slur because they help to shape our discourse, our reality, and thus help to strengthen racism, whether individual or institutional. 4. If we wanted to change to ever occur or happen, we must start by recognizing the problem. Besides that, the author said that the process to denormalize racism should start by us by minding our own words and thinking before speaking something. Be more verbally hygienic and stop all hateful, prejudicial, and stereotypical statements. Rule 10. The visual aspects of the text are significant because the headline of the article, which is "Let's Fight Racism in Malaysia with Verbal Hygiene," correlated with the medium-sized photo of the people protesting against racism in the streets, supporting BLM. The cropping of the photo does not affect the article's content, as it located at the top of the article, so to give a general idea and understanding for the readers about the article's message. The photo conveyed about the article accurately because the people were protesting against racism and support the black people struggle at the United States, but forgotten that they have their own issues related to racism as well at their own country. In conclusion, the article was written by the article written by Dr. Siti Nur Nadila Muhammad Jamek is credible and reliable as he was able to inform or even expose to the populace about the normalization of racism in Malaysia. To stop racism, it has to start with us. Stop speak verbally hygiene now. That is all. Thank you.